You're listening to the K-12 Tech Podcast, bringing you insights into the world of education technology. Stay tuned as we discuss the past, the present, and most importantly, the future of technology in our schools.
Hello, and thank you again for joining us on our K-12 Tech Podcast. My name is Sean. I'll be your host today. We are also joined by Emmanuel. He is with the Barre Unified Union School District up in Vermont. He is their Director of Technology and Informational Services. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of the nuances that are out in the AI world and how those could affect or what to look for with cybersecurity. So Emmanuel, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you got to where you're at now, and we'll get the conversation going.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean, for inviting me to this podcast. And like Sean has already indicated, my name is Emmanuel Ajanma, and I am the Director of Technology and Information Services for the Barre Unified Union School District. Barre School District is in Vermont. We are a school, a tiny school, I would say. Student enrollment is about 2,500 students and about 500 staff. And, we are facing the challenges like every school in the country is facing. So let's jump into discussing some of these.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know when we talked before, just to get to know each other a little bit before, doing the recording, we kind of had a mini podcast ourselves talking about AI and what was going on with Chat GPT. And there's basically every day, it seems like some sort of updates happening. And, how could that potentially, or I guess before we can get to that, what are some of the newer things? I know you said you've been playing around with the AI and stuff like that for a little bit, getting to know it. So what if kind of you have uncovered just being on their sites?
Yeah, thank you, Sean. So I just returned from a conference in Texas, Austin, Texas. So this conference is organized by the COSIN, Consortium for School Network. It's an international organization anyways. And so we had all these technology leaders from the country come together in Austin just last week. And we were discussing about all of the challenges and all of the top issues facing education. And guess what? AI and cybersecurity is at the number one and number two issues facing educational leaders in the country today. So these are the top things going on. And like I told you, Sean, when we met before, I've been playing with these, with different types of AI, generative AIs like Chat GPT and others, and they are really something. They are something. So I'm trying to then look at it and see what are the cybersecurity risks that these generative AIs like Chat GPT is posing, for us in the education sector. So I had some conversations with other educational leaders, and we talked about a few of those. So I'll be happy to share them, as we go on in this discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as someone who I've never gone on to Chat GPT or tried to figure out any AI platform at all, so I know very little about it. Basically, I feel like what I've heard is that students may be having it write papers and stuff like that for them, but I would say that's probably a pretty surface level application for those types of platforms. What do they do, or what can they do?
All right, so these tools can do a lot of things, but COSIN just released a note writing about ChatGPT. So there are, so to say, a few things that you should note. So generative AIs, we have the application, the one that creates contents. So contents like text, sentences and paragraphs like Chat GPT and Bing GPT. There are also other generative AIs that create audio, Soundful and other things. So they create audio. There are some that also create images, and videos. So pretty much you can use generative AI to generate any type of content, be it a written content, texts, uh, uh, paragraphs and things like that. You can use it to generate audio. You can use it to generate video. And also you can use it to generate pictures. So all kinds of contents you can use these tools to generate. So it's very interesting.
So I guess that'd be something, I guess, that's fun to play around with. But I mean, obviously you can't stop technology from evolving, right? I mean, it's pretty much in hyperspeed right now. And I'm sure if it's available to us, then there are other platforms and things that civilians just can't get their hands on or have access to. So what are some of the implications then, I guess, in a negative way that could affect or even not maybe even what could happen in the cybersecurity world with AI that, could be negative or positive? I mean, there has to be two sides of the coin there.
Absolutely. Like everything in this world, like every tool, there are good and bad, right? And like I told you, we discussed about the most challenges for us in the education field. It's cybersecurity, like and then generative AI, like Chat GPT. So we were looking at what are the implications of AI in the cybersecurity world. One of the problems or one of the issues that we pointed out, during our discussion was, since you can use these tools to generate texts, codes, pictures, and whatever, someone could use ChatGPT or use these types of AI to generate even more sophisticated and targeted malware. They can generate this malware and then target schools with these more sophisticated malwares that were generated with AI. This could pose huge challenge to schools, especially small schools like ours, like mine, that don't have, we don't have the funding, we don't have the staff, to fight off malwares and cyber attacks. With these types of sophisticated malwares, it will be impossible, almost impossible for us to fight. And anybody can just use AI to generate these types of codes that can be deployed on our network. So it is very, very concerning to us. Very, very concerning to us. This is the number one problem, number one challenge that we see with AI and cybersecurity.
So then how do you combat something that you physically can't see? And I mean, it's not just like someone walking into the building, right? There's plenty of security protocols for keeping people out of the building that shouldn't be there. So how do you fight essentially a self-learning or teaching virus? I don't know if that's the right word for it, but how do you even prepare for that?
Yeah, it's a challenge for sure. But the good news is, doing all of those cyber hygiene things keeps us safe. Again, repeating all those cyber hygiene things like, secure and monitor, our network all the time, ensuring that only authorized users have access to our sensitive information, and educating our students, educating our staff, educating teachers about potential risks and signs, this AI-generated contents could cause on our network, implementing, strong cybersecurity measures, firewalls, intrusion detection and things like that, regularly updating, softwares to keep them up to date. And these things will help protect our systems from these types of sophisticated attacks. And
So
one more thing,
Mhm.
if I may add, we can also use AI to fight AI. We can also partner with AI vendors, for them to help us in the cybersecurity world using AI to generate, strong defenses, against itself. So we can also use AI, to protect our systems.
How do you make sure that something as sophisticated as AI, and it's only going to get more intricate, I'm sure. How do you know that what you are using for good is not actually opening up more areas for bad to come in? Or, I mean, because it's a pretty tricky thing to try to figure out as far as, is this something that is on my side or not? I would assume.
It is, again, like you indicated, it's going to get more sophisticated, more advanced. It's not going anywhere. It is here to stay. It's gonna even develop more. So we I would say the way to do this is for us to embrace it, learn it, not ban it in schools, not block it in our schools, but to embrace it, to join in that conversation, learn how it works, learn how we can, harness it, and use it to enhance education. Because there are so many good things about AI, number one. Number two, AI is not going anywhere. It is here to stay. So we might as well, dip ourselves into it as leaders in education, understand it, understand the risks so that we can help teach other staff in our schools, and then learn how we can use this tool for good. Use it for good. There are a lot of good things that we can use this for. So emphasize the good aspect of it, and also, train and create awareness into our staff and students about its negatives.
So relating it to the cybersecurity is one, obviously for you, is incredibly important, being in the position that you're at. But as a, like, say as a student or a teacher, I would assume that students can now use these programs to write reports or whatever information they put into it. I guess it generates a paper for them or something. So is there any way to tell that a student did or did not write something? I mean, how is a teacher, from a teacher's standpoint, how would I know that the information that I've been given actually came from a student? Or even as an administrator, how do I know that a teacher's actually writing their lesson plans or, whatever they could use it for? How do you know?
My goodness, Sean, this is really funny. In fact, you've just touched on a topic that I was just discussing with some of my colleagues, because there is this debate, right? If a student uses generative AI to write an assignment or a homework and, write things like that, what is it? Is it plagiarism? Um, that's a good question, but the debate is that it is not plagiarism because, hear this, because the content that was generated was from multiple sources. The AI just grabs things from the internet and grabs things from database that was already in existence. So it is not quoting a particular source. So it couldn't be called plagiarism, but it could also be cheating because the student is not producing, the text from their own imagination, from their own, from themselves. But there is also a debate that if AI just helps you to brainstorm a topic and then you develop the topic itself, that there is nothing wrong with it. That AI helps you to, helps us to, bring some things, give us topic, give us, kind of a list of things, and then we can develop those list of things. That there's nothing wrong with it, that it is actually intellectually acceptable. And there's another one final point I want to make, that AI, also using AI to help with generating ideas. Like if a teacher in the classroom, brings up, let's say, world history or whatever they are teaching, and then use AI to, generate ideas for the students to then discuss. Then you are using generative AI in a very ethical manner, and it should be, supported and welcomed as part of learning.
Yeah, and I think, again, use it the right way, and it's a good thing. But I remember, we used to have to like find the smart kid in class, and here's $50, write my paper for me. And now you can just type in a bunch of stuff on the internet and it generates one for you. But how far we've come just from when I was in school. We used to have, I think it was called Encarta 99 or something. It was a set of discs, and it was basically an encyclopedia that you could use on the computer. So we went from that to being able to use the internet, which was great, but you weren't allowed to use Wikipedia because that, the sources aren't legit and blah, 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 to now you just add in a few topics and it just generates a paper for you. But yeah, I guess technically it could be cheating, because it'd be like paying a kid to do your homework for you. But yeah, how would that be plagiarism? It's not like it's just pulling an article from somewhere and submitting it. It's pulling from thousands and thousands of sources. So
yeah, and with that, there is, you touched on something when I was listening to you. So it is more than ever important today for us to teach critical thinking for our students. Listen, that AI generated a content doesn't necessarily mean that that content is true. Remember, AI is just pulling from the internet or from just databases that were here, that were there. So it could generate misleading information. It could generate false information. So we need to teach critical thinking to our kids so that they can, know how to verify, the information that is being generated. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's correct information because it came from AI. No, AI doesn't know the truth and falsehood. It's just giving you information that is out there in a database. So critical thinking is very important today. Another thing is also misinformation. The type of questions you ask AI. You need to ask the right questions to get the right answer. This is a machine, so it answers based on the type of information or the type of things you are feeding it. So it is important also to ask the right questions in order for you to get the right answers that you're looking for.
So, okay, again, never using it. So let's say I had to write a speech about, I don't know, how to make the perfect peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Is that something I could just type in there and it will make a speech for me? Do I need to make, like, how does this all work? Do I need to put in how long it needs to be, how many words, or is it just a very broad statement and then it just does what you ask it to do?
Exactly. This is a good question. So just coming off of what I just said earlier. So if you type that just broad question, it will give you a broad answer, right? A general answer like that. But then you could then, let me add this one too. So it remembers what you asked earlier. So in that same chat, this is why this thing is so mind blowing. So if you ask it a question about, let's say, peanut butter jelly that you just said, it will type a general answer of how to make a peanut butter jelly. And then you come back again and say, oh, what if I add milk and sugar? How would it taste? It will remember the first question you ask and then, respond, adding the second prompt that you've given it. So it will give you a response based on all of your questions. So it remembers the last thing you asked. So this is very interesting. So that is how you can specify. Like if you ask it something about general topic something, and it gives you a general answer, but you say, hey, there are particular things you want to know about this general topic, and then you add those particulars, it will give you more specific answer based on the specific questions you're asking it.
I kind of want to navigate back towards the cybersecurity part real quick, because I just thought of something. Can you teach AI? So a lot of the security questions, or a lot of security stop points when you're on any type of website, most of them click the box, I'm not a robot, or which squares have traffic lights in them, and which ones include a bicycle or whatever. Can you teach AI to recognize and answer those questions, or is it not there yet?
This is a very good question. So it is not there yet. Because you have to, even using the code, you have to input it, and then it generates the content for you. So when you get to a website that asks you, oh, click this, to prove that you are not a robot, there's no way you will use generative AI to click those, at least not yet. But let me tell you, nothing is impossible with the way these things is developing now. Who knows, tomorrow, it could get there. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised, but for now it's not there, but it could be. We could get there.
So then what is I guess I don't want to say like the biggest risk factor, or what potentially could be the largest problem, but how would AI then be able to circumnavigate some of the security measures that schools have in place to protect information like students' personal information, any of the financial information that schools hold on to? How would it get into that, or pose a threat in the first place, versus someone that's just hacking in on their computer at home or something?
Yeah, so I would say the same way that traditionally, breaches have occurred. Like if you use AI to, to generate a code that someone can then send to a school official, and they click that code, and if it is a very sophisticated code that was generated by AI, it could download itself on someone's device and bypass, because you could program it to bypass the firewall that is on the device, that is currently on the device. So it makes it more complicated and more easier to use AI to to basically infect someone's device with malware, and that is my greatest fear. That is my greatest fear when it comes to AI and cybersecurity.
So a lot of this almost reminds me of like a plot to a movie or something, where you're digitally watching this virus dodge around firewalls, and it's learning what the firewalls and antiviruses are looking for, and it's changing in a way that it can't be seen or whatever. I mean, it sounds like some movie stuff. Are we there now, or is that where we could potentially get to, where it's actually the AI itself or the code is evolving to get away from what's trying to stop it?
Yeah, correct. So that's what I don't think we are there yet, because this is just still developing for now, and the companies that are making this AI at this point in time are focusing on the good for now, but here's my fear, here's my concern. At some point, the bad guys will come into this market. The bad guys will start making this. That's my concern. And the bad guys will focus on things like what you are describing. How can we make more sophisticated malware that will override your security defenses? The bad guys will come in and start producing AI that will generate contents or generate malware that could actually dodge these security defenses that we have. That's my concern. So right now, at least the companies that are doing it are focusing on the good. But I know, Sean, the bad guys are coming. It's just a matter of time. So
They're always hide in the shadows.
We better start preparing for it now. You prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Pretending I'm someone that wants to infect a school with malware, which I'm not. I just want to make that very clear on the record. Why would you target a school versus, if you have this technology available to you, schools aren't flushed with money. They're not, the students, I'm sure they don't have credit. What's the point of going after a school versus something like a bank or a Fortune 500 company or someone that actually would have the ability to pay up if they decided to go that route, or wouldn't even notice that you were skimming money from 1,000 different accounts if you hit like a bank or something? Why even go after a school? What's the point?
All right, Sean. So this is a very, very good question, and I love that you are bringing this up. So if you go to the Microsoft dashboard, so they update it like regularly, like live. Education sector is the greatest, the biggest, the number one target of cyber attacks. Number one, can you believe it? Way ahead of the health sector, the business sector, all other sectors put together. Education is the number one target. Schools, districts, and things like that. Again, why is this? Why is this? Your guess is as good as mine, but we've tried to figure out, why are they coming after us? Why are these hackers coming after schools? So one of the things that came up was that we are a soft target. Schools do not have the big cybersecurity budgets to protect themselves. A lot of schools do not have dedicated cybersecurity staff, on their payroll. So we don't have the staffing. We don't have the skills. Like a business would hire, very skilled, and banks would have the money and hire very skilled cybersecurity officer who would be totally in charge of defending them from attacks. Schools don't have that. We don't have that. We are an institution that focus on learning, not on fighting, crime and cyber attacks. So we don't have all those skills. We don't have the money, to do that. That is why we are just a soft target. We are just sitting dots. We are the lowest hanging fruit. So these attackers, of course, target us.
And so what are they going after then? They're obviously, this is not to make a pun, but it's not like they're stealing kids' lunch money. Like, what are they trying to get?
All right, Sean, data is gold. That's how they describe it. Data is gold. So do you know what they're going after? Students' data. They want to harvest our students' data, and when they get these students' data, they will then force the school to pay them, or they will release the student data online. And which parents, Sean, if you have kids, would you want to see your kids' records out there in the public? Their names, their scores, their students' record. No parent, no school want to see their kids, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds records, you know, out there in the open for everybody to see. And these hackers know it. They know that we cherish this data. We cherish these students' data. So they come after it and they get it. And they don't, they make, depending on the type of school you are, they know your budget. So they know what you can pay. So they make you pay what they feel you can pay, you know. So they're not going to charge you 100 million if you are a small school because they know you can afford it. So they charge you what they feel you can pay. Also, they can also target our, business office, the payroll office and things like that. And if these staff members who work in the business offices for schools, if they are not trained in cybersecurity or what to look for, they are also soft target, and then they gain access and then take payroll money from teachers and school administrators. So these are the two major reasons why they target schools. Again, I say we are the lowest hanging fruits.
And that's sad. I mean, obviously, yes, schools in that aspect would be the lowest hanging fruit. But what's kind of funny, and not funny, but those skills that these people are using, they learned probably from being in school, and now they're going back. It's full circle, and that you're teaching them how to be criminals.
That is so unfortunate, and you just hit it on the nail. They learned. We teach these guys. We teach them, and we hope, right? We hope that the knowledge they acquire from these schools, that they will use it for good. And majority, 95, 96, even 97, 98% of folks use it for good. But there are a handful of those ones that decide to put this knowledge that they learn from these schools, they put it into, using it for bad and for evil. And that is unfortunate, but it is true. We have to acknowledge that. But we'll still go on and teach and, teach our students the best, because we know that the majority of them will turn out using this knowledge and skills to improve and enhance, the world we live in. So we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's never, teaching will never end, learning will never end. In the growth of technology it will not stop. I mean, at some point maybe it'll slow down. I don't know. But I think we're in like a technology revolution period right now, and it's getting crazy out there, and it's so easily accessible to just the general public that people, even if they're not techies or designing those programs, are going to figure out a way to use those programs to maybe create other things too, which, to your point, hopefully they're all good. But we all know just from being alive that everyone is not good all the time. And that's just an unfortunate truth, but that's where we're at. But speaking of the evolution of tech and everything, I know the last time we talked, we just kind of started messing around with some of the movies that were out there and how the AI is portrayed in those movies. And I know we talked about iRobot and Megan, the newer movie that just came out. So do you see us moving towards that? And if so, I mean, what is that going to mean if it's not now? Because now it's not just AI, it's a physical thing.
Yes. You remember when let me go a little bit back a little bit. This might reveal my age, but remember when the phones came out, and we started using this old big phone, and it was the next, the best thing, right? And then right now, look at phones has become mini computers, just mini computers. That's what
your
cell
watch
phones
has become a phone in some cases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in the same vein, I am sure that, give AI a few years, it's gonna blow up. It's gonna blow up, and the thing that we have to be mindful of is how can we bring ethics, into the development of AI, both in the medical field, in education, in all of these fields. We need ethics. We don't need you know, generative AI coming up and bringing all kinds of ethical problems in the world. That's a concern. That's a conversation that we should be having. But are they going to blow up? Yes, they would. I can tell you that. But we should be mindful of. We shouldn't forget, that there should be ethics, good and bad, behind this thing. We shouldn't forget it, because if we do, then we might end up, producing more evil than good.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up phones, which is, it's just funny because that is definitely technology that even for me, I mean, I started on a flip phone. You had to pay to send a text message. It was even, now it's an entire computer in your pocket. Essentially anyone that works in any field can have their entire office in their phone at all times. But just thinking about back to when we were talking about cybersecurity and AI, let's just say, I know people get spam texts and emails all the time, right? I mean, it just happens, and everyone says don't open them, so you just click delete, whatever. But let's just say a student, a middle schooler, they don't really know all that much better than to not open up a message that they just got. So let's say they open up a message, they click the link, it downloads something onto their phone, they walk into the school the next day and connect to the network. So now you've got this bridge between their phone and the network. How does the school combat that? I understand there's firewalls and things within the Wi-Fi network, but can it just kind of go right around it?
Exactly. So, Sean, this is a big concern for schools, right? Yes, granted, like you just mentioned, that we have firewalls, and not just firewalls, we also have network. We divide and disintegrate our networks, so that the network that we allow staff and students to log in with their own personal devices is segregated, kind of. You wouldn't see the other things that are like school devices that are on the network. So it's very we make sure that we separate the two and put a very strong firewall between them. But like you said, you never know. When technology keep developing, who knows how they would, how AI could be so sophisticated as to dodge, or in some cases break down these firewalls. I mean, it's not there today, but it could be there tomorrow. It could be there tomorrow. It's a concern. So it's a danger that we're experiencing. Are we then going to lock everybody out, and prevent people from logging into our network with their personal devices? Are we going to do that? If you do that, you also limit learning. So it's always a problem of access and, safety. How much access do you give to your users? And when you broaden the access, the more you give access to your network, to Wi-Fi and things like that, the more riskier it becomes. So we have to balance both needs, because students need access to Wi-Fi, they need access to internet in order to learn, but then access comes with the risk, the risk of breaches, and the risk of safety risks, period. So we have to make a balance there.
So where do you see, I know, unless you can predict the future, but you work with this a lot more than I do, or maybe some other people listening do. Where do you see AI taking us, especially in education? Are there going to be, do you see teachers assigning projects that need to be completed through AI? I mean, are we going to allow those to write papers and things for students? Is that going to be okay? Like, where do you see this going? Or are we going to end up in like a Terminator situation and Skynet's going to shut everything down?
I can tell you right now that AI will disrupt education. It will basically change how we teach and learn. The teacher's role will significantly change. Remember when Google came out, in those days, when we were preparing teachers in the in the schools, it was the statement was, oh, try to give assignments that is not good. You cannot Google. It's not Googleable. If you give an assignment that a student can just Google and give you the answer, then that's not any good assignment. Now we have to give assignments, if there's even assignments that cannot be, you cannot get the answers through AI. Tell me, what assignment can't you get answers from AI? So basically what it will do, it will change the role of teachers. Because now information is out there. Any student can just find out anything, right? So education, teaching and learning will change so much so that the way we do teaching today, the way we do teaching and learning today will change, will shift, into something that will be completely different for sure. The emphasis will showing your knowledge rather than just writing long texts, will now be you have to you have to demonstrate your knowledge or your skills. So demonstrating of skills will be an essential part, of teaching and learning moving forward. That's what I think.
Have we been working with AI for a while now and not really classified it as AI? So something like your phone where you can ask it, or, I don't want to say it because my phone's going to go off, but, or you can ask Siri or Google Homes or whatever questions, and then it remembers or it plays something for you or makes a shopping list. I mean, is that considered AI, or is that more of a call and response type of program?
That is a type of AI. So like I said, AI is not new. There's nothing new about AI. AI has been around for years. The only thing new is generative AI, the type that Chat GPT comes with. That's something that you could say is new, and then it is the development, the advance. It's becoming more advanced now than it was. Hey, GPS, looking up GPS on your phone and following GPS to your destination is AI. And GPS has been around for how many years now? A long time. So AI has been with us. Yeah, AI has been with us. But it is now more advanced. And the generative AI is what has taken the world by storm, recently. But AI as AI has been around for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, even just listening to, you said there's the text generating, there's video and image generating, and then there's audio generating. And there's a few radio shows have gone in there and typed in, report the news in this city on this date, and it sounds like someone is talking on the radio. I mean, it's wild, but it's actually kind of really cool. And I'm conflicted on how to feel about it, if I'm being honest, because it's cool, but it's scary.
I'll add to that. One of my friends just posted a picture on Facebook. So they used AI to pretty much generate an image of herself. So she and this picture looked exactly like her. but more prettier, The AI men are more pretty, but it was generated from AI. It's not a real picture, but you wouldn't believe it. It looks so real. So this is the problem. This is the challenges that we'll get into. Just like you just said, AI, just reporting news like it is actual, like it is, somebody, you know, some AI you can also use code to produce video. I mean, it looks like real video, you know. So at some point, are we going to be confused with, AI generated things as opposed to, real life things? Where does it end? So these are issues that we should be having this conversation on. We should. And I thank you, Sean, for using your platform to kind of bring out these issues for everybody to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking forward to this conversation a lot because it is something where, I pretty much grew up watching like Terminator, iRobot, these crazy futuristic shows. And now the future's here. And maybe not to the same extent, but I mean, it's definitely the technology foundation for that is essentially being set now. And then they're just going to continue building on top of it. And that's again, scary, but also very exciting. And like I said, I'm conflicted, but I was looking forward to this conversation because you are very knowledgeable in how those applications can be used for good and bad. Obviously, we look a lot at the technology and education side of things, but it's obviously a much larger. It reaches a lot more than just education, and I think it can have a lot of implications down the road for every single person, business, company, whatever. That could be bad if used the wrong way.
Exactly. And you just said it right. The future is here. Remember, like you were saying, all those movies that we watched years ago, sci-fi new movies that, at that time, it's like, oh, these things will never happen. Guess what? With AI, those things are now possible. So tell me, in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, can you imagine how the world would look like with the continued advancement of AI? So the future is here. So what I would say is we will keep having this discussion, bringing it up, looking at the ethical, things that should be employed when we are developing these AIs, and make sure that, we keep an eye on it so that we can use it for good, because there are lots of good things that could happen with AI, but unfortunately, there are also lots of bad things that could happen with AI, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Well, Emmanuel, I want to give you some time to plug, any social media, any last comments or concerns about what we just talked about, any articles or anything that you may have written and posted, or whatever you'd like to do. Your floor is yours. Go for it.
Thank you, Sean. Well, I am active on social media. I'm active on Twitter. And I, interact with other educational technology leaders, and we post a lot of articles, lots of discussions on AI and cybersecurity. So that's where I pretty much, put all of those information on. So you can see me on Twitter. It's my name, Emmanuel Ajanma, on Twitter. So that's my handle. Emmanuel Ajanma. That's my Twitter handle. So I post a lot of contents online.
Perfect. Well, get on Twitter and check him out. Emmanuel, thank you so much for joining us today on our K-12 Tech podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you about AI. Who knows? Next time I talk to you, it may not even be you. I just won't even know it. But to all of our listeners out there, please like and subscribe to the podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, or if you have a topic that you would like us to discuss, please visit k12techrepairs.com. That's 12 the number, not spelled out, /podcast. Reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to either have you on or find a topic that you're interested in. But that's all for today. Emmanuel, thank you again so much. I do appreciate it. I hope we get to talk to you again.
Thank you very much, Sean.